be flexible and roll with it, but still make great things happen, so. We'll get into all that in just a little bit, but let's start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and the four-way test is true, it's a all concerned. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right. Keep threatening with this thing. Okay, I don't have, maybe I do, but I don't remember any special announcements that I'm supposed to say this morning. Do we have any special announcements? Bill?
Two guests.
Yes, let's do guests then.
First off, Rodney King, who's been here a few times.
Welcome, Rod.
And Barry, who is not here, got the name, and Tim Reed. He was a retired teacher, professor out at Woodbury Parks, biology for years, and moved over on the Blue Ridge Turnpike between and Rochelle.
That's right. Well, thank you. I also grew up in Flint, Michigan, so I did enjoy the Rose Bowl last night.
Well, welcome to both of you. You're always welcome to come and enjoy our meetings and participate in our activities. We love having you here. I will make one announcement. I might get Adriana to help me, but please go ahead and mark your calendars for our annual fundraiser, which is our Rotary Barbecue. And that date is Saturday, April 13th. So please mark your calendars for that. And it's the previous Saturday, we will do cleanup of the barn, correct? So that would be the 6th.
Yes.
So please mark your calendars for April 6th to be at Roundton Farms to help clean up the barn, which is where we hold our annual barbecue, our fundraiser. This is a very important event. This is where we draw in a lot of our funds and fellowship with other members and potential members. We've actually gained quite a few members from this event, so it's going to be a great time. And we will raise a lot of funds, hopefully, for our scholarship and youth programs. Anything else would you like for me to announce, or do you want to say about that?
Anything that anyone would like to donate to the silent auction.
Yeah.
Barry or myself.
Yes, thank you. Be thinking about that. Part of the fundraising, a big part of our fundraising with that event is the silent auction. And so looking at your garages and your closets and your jewelry boxes for things that you don't use anymore that you may be interested in donating. And or if you have any connections throughout the community of businesses that may want to donate, we are always eager to do that and put a plug in for them as well. April 6th is cleanup. April 13th is the actual event. And so we start preparing that. The event doesn't take place till evening, afternoon, evening. We kind of get out there midday to start setting up. Any other announcements? Oh boy, okay. So we got lots of time on our hands this morning. So Jess Ciffizari had planned a wonderful program today for us. It was supposed to be a presentation by our Chief of Fire and EMS for Orange County, Nathan Moore. But as we all know, there's some nasty stuff going around, little bugs and COVID and flu. I don't know what he has, but he's feeling under the weather.
maybe a mix of all.
maybe a mix of all of them, so, I know Nathan would love to be here, we'll have to get him rescheduled, but unfortunately due to him being under the weather, he couldn't be here. So, I got word of this yesterday evening, and I threw out some ideas of other possibilities. And one of those ideas was, well, maybe Jess could be our next, you think you might know me, but, presentation, so, she accepted the challenge. And that was at about 8 o'clock last night, so she has had very little time to prepare. And I said, it doesn't have to be elaborate, just tell your story, tell what you want us to know about you. So, we're eager to hear from Jess, and, you just take all the time, or not as much time, or whatever you need. And, I'm sure you'll have lots of interesting things to tell us. So, Jess, if you could come on up.
I'll try and make myself stay in one place. We'll see how that goes. Okay, I'm gonna start by saying, for those of you that know me and have heard all of this stuff a million times, I'm sorry. And for those of you that don't know me and are about to hear it for the first time, I'm also kind of sorry. I do apologize for the late notice. I know that Nathan hadn't been feeling well and he still kind of thought he was gonna make it, and then last night fever right around 103, and so I said, no, we're gonna reschedule. It was too late to try and get anybody else in here. So, yeah, you guys get to hear about me today. And as per usual, I'm absolutely making this up as I go along. So, I am from here in Orange. I grew up here. My dad's family has been here forever. My mom taught in the schools here. So I have a very, very deep appreciation for Orange and the town and the county and sort of all of the things that we do here. I was very lucky growing up in that I had parents who were very, very encouraging of trying lots and lots and lots of different things, sort of whatever came into my or my brother's head. They're like, go for it, let's do it. We would find out later on that was undiagnosed ADHD. But it did lead to a very interesting sort of life for me. So growing up, I got to be part of the swim team here. I rode horses out at David and Sally Lamb's for years and years. Went and did a lot of 4-H horse shows, competed at the state fair, went to the regional horse show twice, once in Alabama, once in Arkansas. That's where they bring the 13 southeastern states together, and the top riders from all those get to compete, and so I got to do that twice, which was very cool. Grew up riding horses, was on a horse before I could walk, and so that was a huge, huge part of my life. And then when I was 15 years old, I had an accident and injured my back and couldn't ride anymore for a while, and so that led to me teaching therapeutic horseback riding in the summer. That right across from where Liberty Mills is now, there's an old house there that was owned by a man, where Ulysses. Tucker? Is that his name, maybe? I can't remember. I can tell you the name of his horse, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, so I went and taught therapeutic horseback riding out there to students from the Virginia Institute for Autism. Because he had a grandson who had autism, and so he hosted their summer camp for them every year. And so I spent the summer doing that, and we would lead the kids around, and we would sort of do the prompted, like, what's your horse's name? Your horse's name is this. And I spent the summer with these kids, and sort of one of the last days of camp, I'm leading this kid. He'd never talked, he'd never said anything. And I said, what's your horse's name? Because I was a teenager and I was bored and whatever. And this kid looks at me and he goes, my horse's name is Happy. Happy's brown and white. I like it when Happy goes fast. I lead the kid back and I'm like, holy crap, I just got this kid to talk to the horse. Like, I'm a miracle worker, it's amazing. No, he talked all the time. This was just the first time he had spoken to me. And so, but I went back and it was just this it was a formative experience for me because it got me interested in autism and that sort of stuff. And so that took my life in a different direction. I did my undergraduate work at Barton College in North Carolina, which is a teeny tiny little school, actually smaller than the high school here, which I did not think was possible. And I studied autism and disability related mental health things and stuff like that. And that led to me spending 20 years in disability services and advocacy work. And my earring is not stuck and my head's gonna be sideways. So like a very classy person, I would say that happy new year. So I spent 20 years doing disability services advocacy work. I served on some state level committees when they were redesigning the Medicaid waiver system that is administered to people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. I facilitated those waivers for people. Did that up until COVID happened. I also worked with seniors at the Area Agency on Aging and talking to them about resources and providing some educational opportunities on here's what you need to know as you or your loved one ages. COVID happened and the burnout was real. It just wasn't something that I could continue doing because it had become all paperwork. And now I run an art store. Yeah, so I had been doing pottery for a while, sort of as a hobby, and decided, you know, hey, this will be something that I can do for the community and get people out and doing things. And so that's where Painted Orange came from. And I've been doing that for 2 years now. If you don't know, I have 2 kids. They are wonderful little weirdos who I drag along to everything with me, and they pretend like they hate it, but secretly they really love hanging out with all of you guys. I am the president of the board of the James Madison Museum. I am on the board for the Historical Society. I am on the board for Mom to Mom. I'm on the board for the Chamber. I help with the Community Investment Collaborative, their class that they just did for the Culpeper Orange group for the first time. And then my kids and I also dress up as 80s comic book characters and go to comic book conventions as well, which is totally normal. Not weird at all. That's a whole bunch of my life in a very short period of time. I'm scared to ask if you have questions, and I really hope that you don't, but yes, Ellen.
I just wanted to elaborate a little on the different programs that you run with Painted Orange, because you do a lot.
Yeah, so I actually just sat down at the end of last week. I worked with, and I keep remembering other ones. I think it was like I'm up to like 35 or 36 different local businesses and organizations that I had worked with last year and partnered with. A big part of what I want my business to be is making things accessible for people. And also, for people who think like me, I'm not a sit down and you tell me, here's the step 1 and you do it, and here's the step 2 and you do it. I hate that, and it drives me crazy. And I know there's a lot of kids and adults like me. And so, I want them to be able to come to the studio and just sort of go in whatever direction they go with. So yeah, I go to nursing homes, I go to the senior center. I've worked with the schools doing different things. I've partnered with Parks and Rec, and just a bunch of different things. So people ask me, like, do you do classes? I don't like to call it classes because classes means that I'm going to teach you some skill. I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to instruct you. I'm going to show you, here are the tools. Here is an idea. Where are you going to take it is what I want. Some people really love that. Some people really hate it. It's kind of a toss up. But I do all kinds of stuff. My favorite one is Possum Night. If you guys don't know, I'm Nita with Possums. And I always wanted to pet one. And I found a lady, like 2 years ago who has possums. She does possum rehab. And so she brought the possum to the studio and we got to play with it and pet it and paint pictures with it, not with it, like of it. I have to be very careful how I say things because I did that to my son. He's like, "Hey, they're gonna bring the birds and we're gonna paint the birds." And he's like, "Painting on the birds." No, we're gonna paint with the birds. And he's like, "Even better, we'll pull their feathers out." I'm like, also no, pictures of is the important part of that marketing. Yeah, so just I do summer camps, summer day camps, not a week. I do not love anyone's children that much. But I do day camps. It's just to expose people to things and to get them out there and to see this, especially kids, because I've had kids come in and they go, "Well, what are the instructions? How do I get this right?" And there's no such thing as getting it right with art. There's just not. It's expressing your creativity and doing those things. And so I want to give that back to the children and turn them into little chaos goblins. So, yes, I don't know if that answered your question at all, but.
Tell them about your little art museum in front of the studio, because that is the coolest
Yeah.
little thing.
So I have 2 little community art projects that are out in front of the studio. One of them is, we call it the Tiny Free Art Museum. And so it's sort of modeled after the little free libraries, but instead of books, it's art. And so I have a whole bunch of these little mini canvases and people can take one and they can make their own little piece of art and put it in there. Or they can just take a little piece of art out of there. It's been really fun. Kids especially love it because they get to put their little art in there and then they come back and they're like, "Oh, somebody took my painting." And it's really fantastic. Or they get to take a little painting and they get really excited about it. So that's been a really neat thing to see. And there's so many adults who bring art in there. I mean, I just had a lady, she sat down over Christmas and expressly made 4 pieces of art for this little thing because she loves that is there. So that's really amazing. And then we have Rocco the Rock Snake, which Rose Deal, it was a project for one of the classes that she was taking. It is a snake made out of painted rocks that goes sort of along the length of the front of the building. And anybody, we have a bucket of rocks out front, you can take a rock and then you bring the rock back and you put the little painted rock in there. We've got close to 90 now, so 90 different people, kids and adults, because a lot of the stuff I do, I sort of go, this is for the kids, and then the grown-ups get so excited about it and they want to do it too.
Well, I'm gonna pick up a rock today.
Yeah, they're right there, and you can see, Rose painted a head, so there's a snake head, the bigger rock, and then there's all these other little different rocks that kids have painted and adults have done, and some of them have little messages and some of them are just pictures, but it's really fun. It's getting people just do something creative. It doesn't have to be good. I tell this all the time. Like, be willing to suck at something. Just do it one time, and you can be terrible at it, but you're going to have fun doing it. That is a big part of why we do the Bob Ross nights, is because they're going to be terrible. They're not going to look like Bob Ross painted at all, but it's a very fun exercise. Staying creative. We're doing something a little bit weird, so.
When is Bob Ross?
So I do those once a month. The one for January is on the 19th of this month, I believe. That's a Friday, at 7 o'clock. But it seriously is just painting along with Bob Ross. I provide all the materials, and Bob Ross episodes take 30 minutes to play through. It will take you an hour and a half to do your painting. And Bob Ross is way less chill when you are painting along with him. Watching it, very zen. Painting with him, no. But it's very fun. It's very silly and it's very good. So that's the studio.
Where do you get your funding?
My funding for my studio? People who pay me. It's just a private business, so I don't do any kind of money. And I probably am bad at business, but I do a lot of free stuff. Just because I want it to be there. When I go to the senior center, I do that for free. I work with the Boys and Girls Club and help the students there design a mural for their walls. If you ever get a chance to be in the Boys and Girls Club, please go into the teen room and look at their beautiful mural. Those kids designed the whole thing themselves, and they mostly traced it on the wall themselves, and they kind of painted it themselves. The teenage enthusiasm wore off as it became more tedious to get it done, but it was a very cool design. So yeah, again, my goal is to make it accessible, not just from an, can I do this standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. I am very big on the people who live in your community being able to afford to do things in your community. And so that is a huge part of what my business is, making it so that the people who live here can come and do the things that have to offer,
Where are you located?
Painted Orange is on Caroline Street. For those who have been in Orange for a really long time, it's in the old Hilltops building. And it's right next door to the museum, directly across the street from the Historical Society, diagonal up from Advanced Holiday Parks. So it's right there. And that was a really exciting thing too, to get to renovate that space and bring it back, because that building has sat empty since the 90s, the 89, 90s. So it was very cool to bring that back as well. And I redid all of that because I also used to work construction. I've done a lot of different stuff. So I taught school for a little bit at, in several different levels. I have worked construction. I was a bartender at a biker bar. It couldn't by that one honest though, because I'm a wall, and so that like really, played into it. Yeah, I've just done a whole bunch of different stuff. And then the really fun thing that I had so much fun doing was going to swim with whale sharks in November. That was the probably best experience ever, was taking the kids down to do that. And we got to touch a whale shark. So that's it. Yes.
One more.
Yeah.
An update on the founding documents.
Yes,
exhibits,
yes.
That.
Yeah, so the Charters of Freedom is a project that the museum is, I actually have a meeting about that immediately after this. The Charters of Freedom project is, the bases have now been poured. We have run into a lot of COVID-related issues, a lot of construction-related issues, different things, but the foundations have been poured. They're coming back in January, and they will be putting the stands up. And then by the spring, everything will be in place, and we will be having a dedication ceremony for those. So all of the pavers have been cut, they are ready to go. It has just been a matter of making it happen, and getting the stuff in the braille.
Does everyone know that project is?
Great, we can talk about that. Cause I got so the Charters of Freedom is a project that was brought to the museum. It is a replica of the National Archives. So it's an outdoor setting that has the founding documents that are in place there. They're available 24 hours a day, they're lit, and it's a free installation that anyone can come and see at any time. So it is housed on the museum property just because we felt that was an appropriate place to put it. We benefit in no way financially from it unless someone walks in our door, and they do not have to walk in our door to see the Charters of Freedom. It's also nice and centrally located there. The museum is right next door to the studio, and so it's accessible from Church Street, right across from Barbara's Soul Food. And so we will have the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Our setting is the second one in the state of Virginia, the only one for the foreseeable future, because they are working in North Carolina primarily now, because that's where the organization is based. We will have a fourth setting, which is the civil rights amendments that are pulled out specifically. And those are the amendments that sort of made all of the other ones true for everyone in the country. And then we have also elected to have a boulder that came from Dr. Hal Young that will have the it was done in 1924, and I cannot remember, it's the Snyder Act, and it's the very specific verbiage that provided voting rights and equal citizenship status to Indigenous people. that will also be part of our setting. That's not, the Foundation Forward is not doing that. We are doing that specifically. People were able to buy pavers in honor of loved ones or different organizations and things like that, that will be part of the setting and are there. Several places donated to make this possible. And so it's been, I mean, we're going into, I think, like the third year of trying to get this completed. Just because COVID happened during it and lots and lots of other things, but it will be there, and ready to go by this summer. Is what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to give you a date because summer technically goes until August, and so I'm covered. But yes, that is the Charters of Freedom setting there. And so I'm excited because it will make a nice little string of parks. So from Caroline Street going on down, you'll have the Charters of Freedom setting, and then you can go across to the Chapman Street Park, Church Street, the Church Street Park. And then you can go, continue across the railroad tracks, and there's the little splash pad right there. So it's a nice little walking string of parks, and Taylor Park is sort of right behind us there as well. So it'll be a nice little addition to walking downtown Orange. So right now I'm gonna stop talking because nobody else.
that Easter egg hunt?
Yeah, I was actually, when we were talking about that, I was thinking, here's my pitch to the board, I want to do the Easter egg hunt again. It was really well received last year, it's super exciting, and I like dressing up as the Easter bunny. I dressed up as Santa Claus too, I've got all kinds of costumes. I love that if someone calls me and is like, hey, I need, in the last week, I need a blue wig, an 80s prom dress, jack stands, and sawhorses are the requests that I've gotten in the last week for just random things I have in my house, and every single one. So, yeah, that's, but yeah, I'd love to do the Easter egg hunt again. It's really fun to do those things with the kids. So, yeah, thank you for listening to me and not booing. And I will have to make it about when you come back, and I'll go on that, so you can hear what you actually learned.
Thank you, Jess. Yep. That was wonderful. And now we all know so much more about you. Even though
Sorry.
that's a beautiful thing, even though we thought we knew you.
We know who to call when we need something.
We know who to call when we need something, and we know who to call on who can make things happen. That's right. So, thank you again, another round of applause. And since we have a little time left on our hands, I'm gonna put everybody on the spot just for a moment. I want you to think of one thing about you, something about you or something you've done or have accomplished or an interest you have that maybe none of us know about. So who wants to go first? Adriana.
I was a flight attendant for Northwest Airlines and American Airlines for 26 years.
Gee.
My first real job was washing school buses for the Hanover County school system over the summer when I was 15. And the last time I ever want to see the interior of a school bus.
That's awesome. How did you have to wash up top?
Inside and out, and we did have an adult that would do the ladder and do the top, because they wouldn't let us climb, the students climb.
Awesome.
But I mean, if I remember correctly, it was $2.28 an hour. And thought I was rich.
That's good. Thank you. Who else? Come on, Cal.
I grew up in Maryland, next to the Maryland State Fair, and from the time I was 16 till I went to college, I ran a cleanup crew. We bunked out stalls all summer long. follow the horses and the cattle and the pigs and the chickens and the geese. If it was clean, cow crew did it.
So you had experience mucking up stuff.
I mucked out stuff, not mucking up stuff.
I know. I mean, mucking.
Wow.
So I have experience mucking up stuff. The pooper scooper for the parade, you have some experience in, you might could get Cal to do a little more of that. How about Matt? I know you have an interest that I didn't know about.
So kind of going along Cal's, I cleaned up after animals, but they were rats. JMU paid me to get my master's from them and we had a Schedule II drug license and did drug research animal subjects. I got my master's in experimental psychology. Wasn't sure if I wanted to get a PhD in it, kind of looked at my options, then ultimately went completely perpendicular to what I was doing professionally, but it was fun and I'm happy to have the staff training game.
And Matt has an interest in snakes.
I do, I love snakes.
So if you come across a snake this summer and you're not sure what it is, send a pic.
I guarantee you won't know what it is.
Who's next? Bill?
I was the engineer of record for radio station WJMA. Well, and I flipped the switch after hooking up the FM transmitter. My father was a ham radio operator, and I grew up with ham radio. And when we moved here, he started a club and there were several members. And right now I've got antique radios. If anyone's interested in buying antique radios, I have some really old ones that need to get out of my basement. But I went to school in Baltimore, Baltimore Technical Institution for electronics and became an engineer. Passed the federal license to become a first-class radio engineer. When the radio station would go off the air, I would call my father. He was always saying, "You might be certified, but you're not real qualified." And he would have his parts in our basement to fix the radio station. We'd go back on the air. It was amazing. But I did that, and I was the voice of the Hornets in the late 50s and early 60s.
Wow. Thank you, Bill. That's so cool. Who's next? Jeff?
When I was 10 years old, my father was the ship superintendent of the Navy Yard in San Francisco, California. And one of the ships that he was working on was the guided missile cruiser Providence. And when Providence was completed with its refit, the captain of the Providence invited my father, and I didn't invite my father's son, but he invited his two sons to come with him on sea trials, which is unique because it's not one of these cruises in the family. It's actually going on a Navy ship during operations. My brother and I went on the ship, and just after we were in San Francisco Harbor, just after we got past the Farallon Islands, the swell started to hit, and that convinced me that I was not meant for the Navy. And 3 days bent over a tragedy. So,
Wow. That's so amazing. Thank you, Joe. Who else?
So being brand new, I really wanted to see what the chief of Orange County was doing because I was firefighter. And I got to jump out of planes, the C-130 transport planes in multiple places throughout the country to eat smoke and put out big fires. So it was really cool. Until I got older. And then
Sounds cool and scary. Thank you. That's really neat. Who else?
okay. Key at one time, I moved, came here in '69. And Orange County had seven schools. And I had worked in 5 of them. And I was an administrator at the high school and at 2 elementary schools and the middle school. So what, I mean,
Wow.
As an assistant principal, I got called to the principal's office every once in a while. He was the one.
I hear more about that, which goes way back than, you know, anything else.
Well, I can confess that my, husband Keith, it stresses quite often what a great person you were to kind of turn his head away from being a troublemaker. When he was in your office, so you have been a pretty, strong leader and someone for people to look up to, even at, their age. And now look at, these are a product of what you were able to invest in, and thank you so much for doing that.
How awesome is that? And Adriana actually was I gotta give her credit for giving me this last minute idea to have folks share something about themselves. So look at Adriana helping us out in a pinch already. Who else? Joan, and then Ron.
My dad was military and, I kind of giggle when these kids, when it snows and they get out of school. We lived in Alaska. We never got out. So I used to have to ride my bike to school, and by the time we get to school or come home, we would literally have icicles hanging off our eyelashes. And, our snot was frozen, and I used to look at my kids and go, really? I used to have to ride my bike. And the snow up to here was, how Alaska is, we lived in Fairbanks. Wow. And, it just got snowy.
That's awesome. How long were you there?
We were there, let's see. For kindergarten, first grade, and for the second. So enough. Oh, no, I don't understand. I really don't.
Thank you, Joan. Rodney?
Yeah, so many of you don't know, I'm from Indiana originally, and so my father was a police officer for 27 years there. So as a teenager, one of my first summer jobs was working for it was Lafayette, Indiana, where I'm from, so the Lafayette Street Department. So before some of the roads had been paved in town, I was one of those kids out there that had a hoe or a pick in between the cracks in the road, getting the grass and the weeds out. So I spent my summer doing that before it was paved. We would also go to abandoned homes where yards were getting out of hand, and we would, as the city, we would have to mow that after, citations on the doorknob and this and that. So it's just exposed to a lot of random things, well, random language for a 16-year-old making $3.35 an hour in the late 80s. So one of those random things.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Ron. Eric?
So summer of 1980 and the winter of 1980, I worked in customer service in Sears and Pompano Beach, Florida. I became the gift wrap expert. I didn't realize that for gift wrapping. So even my family turns to me to do all the gift wrapping because it's skills. I was kind of bored with it. No one taught me. I just figured it out. So.
I'm marking that down.
That should be gone.
That's right. Wrapping families. Yes, we will all keep that in mind. Anyone else? Yes.
Like in the early age, I mentioned Orange County school system a lot. I taught at Woodbury Forest, but in the early 80s, the Orange County school system was gifted from Northern Virginia Burmese python that some administrators determined they couldn't keep. They gave it to me at Woodbury, and so this snake lived for 20 years. Caretaker of this Burmese python. It grew to be huge, great eater. Lots of school groups came to see the snake. We put it out in the hall, let it wander around.
Oh, wow.
One of my daughters particularly remembers, and she did not a biologist, but she remembers feeding the snake and having to put rats in the microwave There's a microwave, they still do say enjoying the food. Somebody might not know about it.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, that was.
Jake?
We took, I think the first graders or kindergarten, I'm not sure which, to go to Woodbury and to see the snake. And I guess the kids were thinking, you know, snake, but they, there was a rabbit in there.
Oh, gosh.
And the kids said, oh, squirrel, there's plenty of rabbit there.
Uh-oh.
You can figure out the rest of it. Like that. And anyway, yeah. I'm talking to the kids to.
We forgot the school before.
Here's cool. Well, I'll share a few things about me. I'm kind of an open book, so some of this you may already know, but my most comfortable wardrobe is not what you see me in every day. I prefer my mud boots, my jeans, my coveralls, and just usually have a lot of poo, goat poo, cow poo on me. So a lot of times students say, I couldn't imagine you not dressed up. I'm like, oh my God, just come to Burr Hill and you'll see me. I'll look a mess. But I was raised on a little farm out there, and I cannot cook, nor do I want to learn how to cook. Because I was always out on the farm with my dad. I didn't want to be in the kitchen with my mom, who was a great cook. But I was always on the farm, and I remember in fourth grade, Miss Estes called my mom, like hysterically, saying, "You've got to read this report Crystal did. She's teaching us all how to castrate baby pigs." So for me, that was a normal thing. I was supposed to write a report, so I was saying step by step how to castrate baby pigs. But there was a certain part of the anatomy that my granddad referred to as something, and I knew that wasn't the proper terminology, so I asked Ms. Estes to tell me what the proper terminology for those were. So she called my mom, and my mom was furious with me, and I was like, whatever. So that's a little funny thing. But also in high school, I went through a rebellious time where I quit applying myself to anything education related, and I went, you know, a little overboard, having a good time. Yeah, I was out in the hall a lot. Miss Willis hated me. She sat me out in the hall a lot. The more rebellious I got, the more trouble I got, and I got more rebellious. And I had a guidance counselor tell me that I wasn't gonna ever amount to anything. And pretty much as I hate to say that, that was on graduation day. And said, you know, you really not gonna amount to anything. As much as I hate to admit, that was probably the best thing I ever heard, because it was the wrong thing to say to a kid. But it was the best thing I ever heard, because like a light switch went off. And I was like, I don't want to not amount to anything. Like, I want to be something. So I always tell people I paid big money to go to a private college that I really couldn't afford, but I had to go to turn things around. And I spent 3 semesters at Ferrum and made the dean's list and got myself together, and then applied here in Washington, and the rest is history. So I always tell kids it's never too late, even adults, it's never too late. You can pull it together once that little light switch goes off. So anyway, I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress, but that's a little bit about me. All right, anybody else?
I had a deli for about 15 years, Marshall Farms Corner Deli. And how it started was, my husband and his brother owned a piece of property on the corner of 522 and 20. And there was nothing good to eat, nothing fresh. Everything was in the stores for like pre-packaged, something I would never touch. So I had a brilliant idea of, hey, I'm just gonna, make fresh sandwiches, fresh egg, bacon, egg, and cheese. Like when you order it, we make it. And we also had Marshall Farms natural cheese. Before we became organic, we did a value added to our milk, and we had Marshall Farms natural cheese that was grass-fed cheese. And I marketed it all over, did wine festivals, farmers markets, had crews going out everywhere. But running the store for that long, it really gave me an opportunity to completely connect with my community. I met so many people, and also people driving from Canada down to Florida would take the back route, and they would stop at my little tiny deli. I mean, I have like 5 tables, that's it. And it just meant so much. I met so many people, and I did a lot of different things. I put a map up and it said, where are you from? And I had that up for years, and I'll bring that map in one day. And I have pins all over the world. It's a flat map. Africa, China, I mean, just everywhere. All these people came to this one little corner of the world. This is amazing. And I also did a promotional thing, and you know, you can have a hat, and wherever you go, take a picture. That hat went everywhere. And people would send me pictures of wherever they were in the country at some cool event or something, and you see a Marshall Farms hat, wherever it was, and I put those up everywhere. I just had so much fun connecting with the community and people from all over, actually. And that really opened the door to mine today. In the community. That's so cool.
That's where I first met you.
Yes, yeah, a lot of people, all the police would come in, all the state troopers, I mean, take up the whole place. The Commonwealth Attorney Office would come down, just, you know, so many different, I catered to the schools, the teachers, whatever they wanted, I tried to do. So, that was my contribution to the schools, because I can never go on field trips when I was working. But, yeah.
And you had great food and great cheese. Whatever happened to the cheese? Do you still have cheese?
We have to stop that because when we transitioned to organic, they wanted every drop. That's white gold. You know, organic milk is white gold. So, they wouldn't allow us to even take 1 tank of milk to get our cheese made, so. And what we did is we took our tank of milk and we took it to a gentleman called Mike Everhart. He's got Ashe County cheese, and he made bulk cheeses, 40-pound blocks, and I went to Yoder's and I bought caraway seed, garlic, you know, all kinds of different sun-dried tomatoes, sent it down with the cheese, and he was our cheese maker. And we were an American Cheese Society in our first year out. We won first place, second place in a North American Cheese Society, so we knew we had something great. And it was just based on this cows eating that fresh grass. You know, we had it made in the spring when it's kind of, the milk tastes different. So, it's just great memories. My kids worked all the time. And they have great work ethic because they always have to work.
Thank you, Deanne. That's really cool. And I remember that little cafe. Okay, well, if you didn't get a chance to share today, we may do this again. This was wonderful. I hate that Mort was not feeling well, but thank you, Jess, for picking up the ball and running with it. Thank you for your amazing story and for all the amazing work that you do in our community, and for being a Rotarian. And thanks to each of you for the same, because you're all working hard and doing things in the community. And we all come from different backgrounds and different lifestyles, but we all come together. And that's really what Rotary is all about. And that's what is so cool about it. And I would love for folks to take their Rotary hat when you're out and about, traveling and going different places. Take a picture with your Rotary hat on. If you don't have a Rotary hat, there's a way to order them. I have one. I love that, Dan. As you were talking about the hat, we should all have a Rotary hat and take pictures and share it on our website or something cool like that. So.
Do we have a Rotary of orange hat, or is it just Rotary?
Mine just says Rotary, but we might be able to look into getting some Rotary of orange hats.
Good brand.
Even if we have to get them made up and sell them at, you know,
I think that's great.
cost. Alrighty, well, are there any other announcements or any other points of business that we have to?
Well, I could use this time to just let people know, first of all, where to look for the calendar. And there are dates open in April, May, and June. So if you have cool ideas or ideas you think are cool, please let me know and we can help and put you on the program. So if anybody who's got their phone with you, if you haven't gone to orangerotary.org and can do it now, I can walk you through how to see our calendar, both immediate events that are coming up.
Ellen, do you want to come to the mic just so that folks, if we have anybody else here, thanks.
Okay, so here's a little exercise. So go to your search engine and put in orangerotaryva.org, take you to the homepage.
Max got it up there.
Well, then never mind, you can do this, but I do want you to be able to fish for yourself. So this is the calendar, so if you scroll, you got that from at the top of the navigation, the top of the page, see calendar, news, events calendar. And then you can hit those arrows at the top to take you through later calendars.
I guess the barbecue date needs to change.
That needs to come off. So that's, you're now seeing that we are a little,
That's 2023.
yeah, so
Oh,
that's outdated, but good point. So anyway, so you're seeing, anywhere it says post TBD, right there with April 16th. That date is available. The Heroes Bridge is a Joan McGregor program. And then if you wouldn't mind scrolling through to May. Two dates in May. And then we've got 2 dates in June. So we can pick one of those for Nathan Ward. And Mac, if you would go to the homepage and scroll down, and you'll see that it pulls up the most immediate events that are coming up. So you'll get through February and then need to go over to the calendar view to see later dates.
Note, we have a fifth Tuesday coming up at the end of this month, January.
And this fifth Tuesday, Jess and Judy are managing that because it's going to be dedicated to a chamber rotary.
Yeah, it's a chamber
social.
after hours at the same time, so it's another opportunity to try to get the chamber and the Rotary Club a little more closely aligned, so we can kind of work together a lot better.
And then they're coordinating with Curtis, our new social committee chair. To pull that off, but it'll be here. So anyway, now you know where to look. If you've got an idea and you wanna pick a date, you can just take a look here and then we can pull up.
Is that any more outside?
Thank you, Ellen. Fifth Tuesday at the end of this month. That's gonna be a fun one. Well, they're all fun, but that's gonna be a special fun one.
Are we also inducting new members?
We'll be inducting new members that night and maybe a couple other special.
What we're gonna do on the 16th? The regular, the next meeting?
I thought at the board meeting, we decided to hold it off until the fifth Tuesday.
Just more people.
Gotta make sure.
Yeah. So when we started saying, we got a few days left from the 7-day cycle, Cal, you never know what comes out. That was a holiday, all of a sudden, you can come back first and start off.
Well, let's say we'll firm that up and make sure that our inductees can be there, but I think that's the thought.
So is it the last, it's gonna be on the last Tuesday?
The last Tuesday. But we can do it on the 16th if that's if that works better for our inductee.
Right. 30th, yeah, I can do it.
Okay, awesome, great. And then we have some Paul Harris pins that we need to award. We'll probably do that on the fifth Tuesday as well. Anything else? Well, thank you all again for being here. Thanks for participating and have a great rest of your day and week. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Chuck. Have a good one, y'all.
Y'all have a great day. Thank you.